We've all waited. We've been teased. And it's finally here. Do you know what that is? Oh man, I'm just so excited. Can you smell what DMM has been cooking? Oh, God. Oh. Let's check it out. That's right, it is here, the DMM Kinesis Max. Ooh, if you couldn't tell by that intro, I am so excited. I've been waiting for this harness to drop, and it's finally here. So, as you can tell, I'm super excited. Now, the DMM Kinesis Max does come in 3 different sizes. And before you go, it's just a tree motion. No. It's more than just a tree motion. It's a DMM Kinesis Max, okay? I'm a big DMM fan, and it just did it for me. But jumping down into it, the Kinesis Max is available in 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. You can look up on their website. We'll throw in the sizing or in the descriptions, we'll throw in the sizes, which is which. But the cool thing or the different thing about this, when it comes to the sizes, most other harnesses, only the belt or this area here is extended and goes like this, woo, okay, or in more. But however, with the DMM Kinesis Max, if you get a small, the profile of the whole harness is smaller. And one thing to note with the small, instead of 4 carry tool slots, you only get 2, and so on and so forth, right? So if you get to the medium, which this is a medium, I am a size 30 waist, I stick with the medium. It's what I was told is the standard size of what like a Tree Motion Evo was, okay? You get the 2 slots, the wide profile. It is a wider profile than the standard Tree Motion Evo, which was what I used to run a lot of. And then if you jump into a large, the back pad it's large, okay? It's large, so it's gonna give you that coverage that you might be looking for. But yeah, so definitely we'll throw those in the description down below. And jumping through it, right, there's a lot of things that they did differently, which I was really excited about. Jumping into the waist belt here, you see these little grommet stops, or these stoppers that they actually call them. So this, if you have a lot of tail, right, so I do have to suck my harness in a lot, and these two almost touch kind of, where I actually have the option, or they made the option of removing these stoppers, takes a Phillips head, bringing it closer and cutting. You do need to leave an X amount, I believe it's 4 centimeters. I will add that down below in the descriptions, but these must be present, okay? These must be present. If you cut the waist, they have to be present. It's a safety feature of it, and you have the ability to customize it up top. Also on the riser webbings back over here, which I have just tucked, and you also have the ability to do it on the leg pads. I personally didn't cut them. I'd like to leave them in place because, you know, being over here where I'm at in the winter time when I go out and climb, I have to layer up, and I layer up a little bit more than most people probably do, just because I like to be warm, and I do shed my layers off a lot as I climb, and then as I stop, I relayer back up until I warm up, right? Typical thing. Now, something else that is really cool is the riser webbings. Previous models, you'd have to cut, use rivets, pin them in, yada, yada, yada. The side axle here was designed so that you can take the screw off, remove that riser webbing, and install a new one if need be. Put it in, bolt it back on. So much simpler. If you're a fan of simple things, right there, okay? The harness is 10 years, right? It's a 10-year harness, and you can replace a lot of pieces to it, which is a great thing. It's rebuildable to a certain extent, okay? For the waist, I'd say be careful on how much you cut, because those webbing straps here, the webbing for the waist, isn't replaceable. And let's talk about it, okay? The adjustable bridge. A lot of people, including myself, I looked at it first as, oh, what am I gonna do with all that extra? Why do I need this, this, and this? Why do I need the extended? Why do I, hold on. We will show why it needs to be extended, or why the option, I should say, why the option to extend it is there, and why to bring the system in close, okay? So, first things first, before we touch even on that, we're gonna look at the patented adjustable rope adjuster, I'll say. Okay, so the one side is the rope adjuster, the other side are rope bones. So Sonai bridge, long bridge with stopper knots at the end, which will show a close-up of my harness setup that I did for me personally. I have incorporated standard ring and a Camp Gyro 3 swivel into my second bridge. Now, once the bridge has been loaded and the cam does its thing and clamps down, lifting up that adjuster may be a little bit difficult if you are just trying to pick up on it. The easiest thing to do, draw in a little bit of the bridge, and after you've done that, now you're able to lift the cam up and extend your bridge again. Okay, that's the simplest way I've done it. And for those that are a fan of Bosun seats, there is a Bosun seat slot here for the bolt right on that forward D-ring. Now, I have routed my bridges through the top. Okay, so if you can, we'll show it. So I have accessory cordage and my rope bridges are captured by mini carabiners here, okay? The reason I ran mine through the top and then obviously through a mini vault, but the way I did this was I didn't find myself extending the bridge too much, and I did the opposite, honestly. So when I'm doing removals, I'm down to that spar and I want to keep my system and everything as tight as possible. I draw my bridge in, keep the system tight, and by drawing the bridge in, rather than have the system or my bridges just dangling down low, my saw is always on this side, right? Let me start with that. My saw is always on this side over here on the Mega Vault. I could have moved everything around over this way, but I do run a super long lanyard most of the time, so I felt like it was going to become cumbersome, and I might have gotten a little bit lost in that translation there with myself. You know, a lot of stuff with a lot of cordage moving around. So the best possible option for me was to use the accessory cord, catch the bridges with mini carabiners, and route it through the top of all my vault, my accessory holders. This has worked out for me a lot, okay? I like my setup like this. It keeps the saw away from it. It doesn't come entangled with any of my tools that I run on a daily basis. And if you've watched any of my other videos that we do here, especially on my setups, I tend to, you know, let's just say I bedazzle my harness a lot, okay? But that's just the way I climb. I like using tools. I like making my life as easy as possible. If I can add a redirect, I've always got it ready. If I need to do a little bit of rigging, it's always there, you know? It's not a big, it's, again, my style. It's how I climb. Next thing here I have is, well, next thing here is this green buckle, okay? This is not for fall arrest, right? The DMM harness, climbing harnesses are generally not designed for fall arrest. This is a fall restraint, okay? That's how it's worded in the manual. If you want more details on that, check it out in the manual itself. But yeah, this is a fall restraint, but typically I clip my chainsaw lanyard here, daisy it back over here. It comes with 2 stowaways. These 2 large stowaways come in the bag. Oh man, I'm getting winded. I love this thing. So my other favorite thing that I like is the tendon. All right, so the knee ascender setup. So this red tubing that I have on the top runs all the way around back to the other side of the harness. My previous harness, I made a makeshift one with regular tubing, zip ties, and it worked for the time being. But every once in a while, you know, you get in that comfortable position and you're on the ground, you're ready to go up, and you just rest your arms here. I had the tendency to do this, and the top of the zip ties, I would always face them down, but over time, climbing and everything, it would rotate them back up. And I just kept scratching the ever-living crap out of me, so I was like, yeah, maybe it's time to do something different. So when that came out, yeah, so it's where it's at. I don't have to bring my bungee over the shoulder. I don't have to bring it to my chest. It's always right at my waist level. Connect down. And if you're wondering what I use, that's it. That's it right here. It's a Camp DMM accessory at the bottom, screw gate lock, and just cordage. That's it, you know, and it works great, especially for work. I'm not really running up the rope like you would at an ascent event at a competition. I'm a slow, you know, steady, working on my technique going up. You know, it's just, I don't know, you get older and you just want to work on the finesse, okay? Another thing that I always carry on me is my first aid pouch. So bringing this up because on the back is the clip for the Cayman. The Cayman first aid tool slot, still up top, doesn't interfere with my stuff. Has webbing strap with a buckle, okay? So the clip of the Cayman is gonna slide right into the webbing, or yeah, that webbing strap. And just like so. So in, sits down, stretch it out to clamp on. Oh, there we go. And tight, it's on. Oh yeah, it's on. Now, super comfortable, very form-fitting to me. I love it. I've been climbing on it since it came out. I saw it come in, I was like, yo, that's what I need, it's what I want. So it was an easy transition from going from the Tree Motion Evo into the DMM Kenissi. There was no hiccups, no holdups. Everything just felt good, you know? You put something on, you're like, yeah, that's where it's at. So it kind of just worked out the best for me. Again, we are gonna do some, we're gonna show how the knee ascender setup works, how I stow it, sucking in the bridge, extending the bridge, that sort of things. But so far, this is the DMM Kenissi Max. Let's check this out. All right, okay, before we actually start using the knee ascender, the tendon system, one thing I wanted to touch on was the fit, okay? So small, medium, large, you want it to fit you accordingly, right? One way to know if it's messing with you, if it's not the right fit for you, if these D-ring, the hip Ds, are positioned behind your hips, definitely not for you. You're gonna end up doing a lot of this to get your lanyard on and off, and it's gonna end up making you really uncomfortable. You wanna have your hip Ds exactly like in line with your hips, or you can have them even a little bit more forward, which it wouldn't really be something bad, because that way it's a little bit easier to get to. But I wanted to touch on that. And another thing I wanted to touch on was on the leg pads themselves, right under the main clips, the buckles, you have this elastic band. So the elastic band is something I really like because it prevents the leg pad from shifting as you move around in the crown of the tree. So it keeps it tight where it's supposed to be. Now, the tendon system, as I touched on before, it's just a camp with accessory cord and a DMM accessory carabiner. I could hook up and just pull off of one side and line down, but typically what I like to do to get the most out of my steps, I clip the opposite end of the accessory onto the swiveling end that comes standard with your tendon. So that clip down, and that's it. So as I lift up, it may not look like, oh, you're gonna need more because your step, like I said, we're working, it's slow, methodical technique, you know, we'll get up there when we get up there pretty much. But perfecting the technique, and you end up traveling up the rope a lot faster than trying to throw wild kicks and fatiguing out more because the technique isn't there. So that's something I've worked on a lot, was the technique, and it does help having it like that. Now, the ascent part, right? So you can have the bridge long, however, I will suck the bridge in tighter to keep a tight system, right? That's another benefit too, having that adjustable bridge, is bringing everything in tight, having the system exactly right, kind of where it's supposed to be, rather than sitting and then you have your system way up here, right? We all know what we're talking about there. So just to kind of show the action of the knee ascender, I'm gonna go and do a little bit of an ascent to show how the tendon actually functions and that you can still get a proper step without having all that extra bungee there. There we go. So, open up, cam in, boom. So now, if I stop spinning here, there's a little bit of twist in there. And then there we go.
Okay, so as I mentioned, rather than trying to have the knee ascender up over the shoulder or connected to the chest, this is how I pretty much just go up about my day to work. Up, methodical steps, make it work. When I get to my spot of work, I just quickly disconnect. Now, you can actually choose to disconnect the knee ascender, stow it in the back, or what I've come to do is I'll disconnect it from the foot loop, and on this side over here, I have a DMM shadow. I'll just wrap this around my thigh, the underside, clip, and it's out of my way. I can move about, jump, spread, right? And I have freedom to move about any which way, and it doesn't bother me at all. It's out of sight, out of mind. And if I quickly need it again, I can just come over here, disconnect, and reconnect everything up, and let's go, right? Simple. All right, so one of the other things you can do with a long bridge, which I thought was really cool, was staying on rope without having to incorporate another Prusik or anything like that as your tether piece, right? A sling, whatever, as your tether. Here, the long bridge is actually gonna replace the sling, so we still just need, I mean, we would need an eye-to-eye Prusik to create our hard attachment up top, or in this case, I'm just gonna use a rescue sender, which, well, actually, let me back up. First thing we're gonna do is lanyard into the piece, which I'm going to do by doing a munter cinch here. And then that way I'll just be super cinched onto the piece. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm secured. Always secure yourself before loosening anything out. Now, take your rescue sender above and very easy hookup. Lock it in place. No red, no red. We're good. So now, in comes the adjustable bridge. So now I'm going to take, install, which I'm pushed up onto it. I'm on rope, I'm on my lanyard, and now all I have to do is I'm gonna give myself a little bit of slack, go up on over, ooh, there we go, go up on over, clean everything up that needs to be cleaned up, find my ring, attach, tension the slack, and now I can slowly introduce that system there, take this off. I'm still on lanyard. The only downside to this is you're still not all the way tensioned out until you tend the slack, okay? This is one of those super technical things that if it's a technique that I need to employ somewhere, which I did this just for the video, right? But more realistically, I would have gone through a beefier redirect, chosen my route where I'm gonna load that way, which is what I would have jumped down into. But just know that this was to show the other function of that long bridge. The third thing we're gonna do with demonstrating the long bridge is an O-rig without the need of having so much more setup, which I'll come down and we'll hit on next. All right, last thing we're gonna talk about with the Kenissi Max and the bridge, the O-rig. So before you is a traditional O-rig setup, Prusik, carabiner, splice running through the ring. But if we fast forward to today, voila, no extra crap. Sorry, no, okay. So, yeah, we fast forward to today, the long bridge, right? I've taken it out of the storage option that I have, and so we no longer need that extra thimble Prusik that I had over here. The splice hasn't gone through the ring. I have my regular hitch climber set up right now, okay? Now, this is where the bridge comes in, right? So we're gonna draw in a little slack, open the cam, and I'm just gonna extend the bridge to its full potential. All right, you wanna make sure that this bridge, or the hitch, you can reach at any point in time with the O-rig. So now you've removed the need of all the extra things, and I can still ascend up in the traditional O-rig setup. So self-tending is still there. Now, this is again for the moving rope enthusiast that does not want to incorporate ascenders. He doesn't want to put anything else on his feet. He just likes climbing. you just like climbing moving rope system and keeping it classic, keeping it simple, you know, and it works, you know. So just pull at the bottom, clamp in, let's go, boom. And up we go. Again, so this is something that works very well with this system. Now to descend, as always, make sure that you can keep that hitch in arm's reach in the event of needing to bail out. Okay, and the other great thing about this is limb walking, right? If we're out there limb walking and we're out on a limb, we don't want to have our system all the way up here while we're twisted around and we're trying to reach. The great thing about it, before you limb walk out there, keep that baby tight, and now you're just right here. You're moving out, and the hitch is always at arm's length. Even if I was to twist out and do something like this, it's always right there. It's always very comfortable reach, very excellent, very dope. I enjoy my harness. I love the Kenesii Max. This has been the Kenesii Max. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe. You know what I mean. Check us out at bartlettman.com. Also, you can Google us, Bartlett Arborist Supply. Thanks and climb safe.